Okay, good morning. I hope you can hear from me. The microphone sometimes doesn't work well. I hope you can all hear me. Okay, before I continue on the issue of multiple inheritance and virtual inheritance, not all of you probably attended the Monday discussion. There are a few things happened there. Number one, the recording was not working. So I missed a huge part of that. For some reason, whenever I'm using Zoom and when I'm trying to do some kind of demo, log into the VPN and the Zoom just basically shuts off. And then I lost the VPN and I cannot record a lot of things. So it's the bad news is it's not. And the second thing is I tried to make things to work in the last like 13 minutes of the lecture. And one of you actually pointed out the reason it didn't work. I thought it should be able to done like in 5 minutes. And the reason it didn't work is because Makefile. Who actually said, I thought maybe you're here, who actually suggested a Monday discussion that the Makefile probably is the issue. And guess what? You're right. That when I finished the class, I went outside in the hallway. I tried to look at why it didn't compile. And I realized that it is the Makefile. So thank you very much for offering that comment. And I did be able to fix that, but I fixed it after the class about the Makefile issue. That's number two. I just want to say thank you for your help. Number three, because it's not recording and because we actually get something done, in fact, we get something done, a Monday discussion, it should give you a big help. I'm actually releasing to you an enhanced version of the homework 3 reference implementation, which should help you a lot to accomplish everything in homework 3. So what's the difference between the reference implementation you receive and the enhanced version? Here's the difference. So what you actually receive for the homework 3 reference implementation is a pair of client server that they can talk to each other, working on the stuff that you're working on for homework 2. So that's what you have, a pair of client and the server. So in the enhanced version, I actually create, let me actually show you, already, you should actually got it from the Canvas, but let me just show you what it looks like. So this is a directory you should now receive the file. And the difference is that now I have a new file called HW3 another, and I modified the Makefile correctly based on the homework, based on the discussion on Monday, that when you type make, it's actually going to generate 3 program, client, server, and another, which is essentially this version of program that extends from that one client, one server program to a one client, two server program, which is have a more interesting interaction about how the real object is. Essentially, I use this example. I think I gave one of our students $2 million in cash, if you still remember. If you were there on Monday, he obviously didn't return that to me. So I'm actually broke right now, okay? So essentially, I'm giving to that student, and then I'm giving to the other student handle for me to reach that 2 million. And then they share that 2 million, and then they're gone. They're probably not in class today, so that's okay. Are you in there? I know where is here. Who's the other student? Anyway, you see, I mean, he took that money and then buy the ticket, and now, yeah, right? Okay. All right, so that's the 3-server version. I give that to you. The homework 3, what you really need to develop is just like this. It's a 2-server version program, but also with a 4 different member function, virtual member function. So for the reference implementation, I have the first one you receive has only one of the 4 functions. And then with the new enhanced version, you actually see how you can extend it to 1 client and 2 server. So just show you very quickly that this one has HW3 another. So if I were you, this is the way I'm going to look at. I want to see what I change to make this 2 server to 3 server. How do I change? Let me make a copy. So this one is the original one you should receive. So I have a 2 directory. One directory is the ecs36b homework 3. That's actually what you got, what you received from the when I released homework assignment number 3. But now I'm actually releasing this one as well. So if I were you, I want to see what's the difference. I use the diff command. Remember, you use the diff command when you do my heal. I'm going to use diff command again. So I'm going to go there. HW3 reference enhance. Okay, let's see. The way I want to see, remember I said I fixed the make file. Let's see what's the difference between the make file I made on Monday versus the make file, original make file I gave it to you when I released homework 3. So I'm going to do diff make file. That's the file in the current directory. I'm actually at the enhanced version. And then I'm going to diff .. That means I go back to the parent directory and then go to this directory. That's the original one. And now I'm going to use this line, diff make file to the make file in the other directory as I specified here. And let's see what's the difference. You can see that those are the difference between, so those are difference represent the changes I made on Monday discussion hour. So you can see that the first line. So this one, if you see this arrow going this way, that means it's current version. That's the enhanced version. Whatever is pointing the other way, that's the second part, which is the original one. So you can see that this 2 first is the difference. The enhanced one now I have HW3 another. The previous one doesn't have another. So that's basically the one major difference. And the second difference, the original one is here. Let me see what I can tell. So this part is all enhanced. The enhanced has this part because I add 2 rules for HW3 another. You can see that I added 2 rules. And for the original one, what I did, okay, that's interesting change. You see that HW3 server is HW3 server. That's what's the original one. And then I actually changed to this. So this is the new line make file. In fact, this is the line why it didn't work. Between this line and this line, I actually changed it. So let's actually parse that line very carefully. Let's go to makefile. What that line is doing. That was the issue that I got into trouble on Monday. This is the line. I was talking about. Okay, so let me tell you, the original line looks like this. The original line looks like this. Let me copy and paste. So original line looks like the red stuff over here, and the new line looks like the line above. So I want you to take just 5 seconds to take a look at this two line. Let me actually just show it to you what this two line is doing. I put it side by side so you can see the precise. The first one was the enhanced. The second line is the new one. What was the difference between those two? Yeah. Yes. So there are two things that are different. I added here. Thank you. Let me just point out the difference is this part. Shadowfly.o and that's the difference between these two. I add this two, right? If you compare the main file. So why I need to make the change? I want to let you know, because that explains why we can add those and we can make a two server version. So in homework 3, original reference implementation, the HW3 server is a pure server. A pure server means that it hosts only the real object. It hosts all the real fly objects. So it's a pure server, it's not client. But in the enhanced version, which I show you, is that the client is actually talking to the server, but the server is still not the place to host one of the real object. So it actually need to refer to another, which is the second server, to pull it out. So in that relationship, the HW3 server is not only the server, but he is also a client corresponding to HW3 another. Okay, so it's HW3. So the relationship is like this: is HW3 client goes to HW3 server, and then HW3 server need to actually pull out HW3 another. That's the relationship between the three. So you can see that HW3 server become a middleman. It is a server correspond for HW3 client, but it's also a client for HW3 another. So that is an interesting situation. That is dual role. So because he has a dual role, it need to link all the code to support that client. So that's why they need to include the library of CL. CL stands for client. So I actually, if you look at the makefile, I have a two place. One is client, one is server, which is basically client. CL is a client library. If you want to do a JSON RPC client library, you need to include this part. But if you want to do server, you include this part. So you can see that the major difference, for example, the server part, you include HTTPD, which is the web server. Okay, HTTP, D stands for daemon. That's the Unix convention to saying that I'm actually running a server program to help others. So that's the HTTP daemon over there. And then the client part is a CURL, which is essentially how you're going to do using C language as the interface to be able to use like a web browser capability, which is the client. So that the library got separated into client side and the server side. Okay, so in the original program, HW3 client only get the client part. HW3 server get the server part. But now we actually have this both, the client and the server. That's why you need to include both. All right, so that's why the make file need to have this one as well to add this part. The second thing that's actually added is shadowfly.o, because in order to facilitate the client side of the story for that particular fly object, that you have to use a shadow object. That's why you need to include shadow.o as well, shadowfly.o as well, because now HW3 server in this particular scenario need to host the shadow object. Okay, any question? Let's do another diff. So this is a one major diff. Let's do another diff. The other things I changed, I believe, is HW3 server. CPP. Okay, this is HW3 server.cpp. I have to change it. And HW3 another is a new one, but it's actually, I'll actually do another comparison. But this is essentially the difference between the old version of HW3, another, and the new version. So let's take an old version. The old version looks like this. You see that the old version, I have shadow fly. Sorry, I have a fly, because for that particular fly object, fly 3, it is a real object. It is a real object. But now you see that I'm actually changing that to shadow fly. This. So essentially, this part was replacing the 3 lines below. Okay, and then the other difference, which is doesn't matter, I actually kind of comment that out, but it's just a editorial difference. The major difference is the bottom one. Okay, I actually just change this back to make it more focused. Let me tell you that this actually doesn't matter. .cpp. This is when I'm trying to do debugging. I'm afraid that this might be an issue. That's why I kind of change that. If I do this, you see that the only difference it has is that I have to include the shadowfly.h, because now I use shadowfly.h, and then change this real fly over here to this shadow fly. Okay, that's the only thing I changed. All right, so that's HW3 another. Let's actually compare sorry, that's the difference with HW3 server, but there is another difference. If I were you, I would try to find out. It's a difference between HW3 server.cpp and HW3 another.cpp. Because I use HW3 server extended to actually change. And here is the change. Let me actually make it a little bit bigger. I change it a little bit more, but not too much. So this is the place I change. Number one, I actually, of course, I add fly.h, because that's, sorry, I actually don't need to do, the arrow go this way, that means that's a server. The arrow go this way is actually, it's the another. So you can see that between server and client, that the another only hosts one object, fly number 3. So I only have a 1. The other thing, which is, this is related to, because I'm only hosting 1 object, 2 object version. But the major difference here is that you can see now I have flight 3. Where's my flight 3? Yeah, here is the let me see, another should be, yeah, flight 3 is here. You see, now the flight 3 is actually in another. I moved that 3 lines to another. That's the only things I need to change. Everything that's in another is going to be started with the greater than sign, okay? So this part is the homework, the flight 3, okay? This line and this line here and this line here together. But there is another major difference I want you to notice is this 2 lines. The port number are different. When you set up the server, because there are 2 different servers, one is the original server, HW3 server, and then you have HW3 another. You can see they use different port number. If they use the same port number, then one of them won't work because they have a conflict. Both of them claim 8384 as the port number, but now another actually claimed the server, the port number is 8385, which is the number, if you remember, go to HW3 server. And inside here, in the server side, when I declare myself, my server is 8384. But when I do the shadow flight, flight 3, that this URL is actually 8385. So I have to specify 8385 as a shadow in HW3 server, and then I have to specify 8385 in the HW3, another as the service port that other can contact. So those things are changed. So presented to you right now, you have 2 different implementation. The difference are not that many. Try to understand the difference. It helps you to understand a lot. How do you actually make a 2 server version, client server version extended to have a 1 client and the 2 server. In fact, if you learn this for 1 client, 2 server, you should be able to do any number of server you want. Means that you can have many, many hops of interaction of those shadow until you reach the final destination, okay? Any question? Okay, and thank you very much for all the students helped me to make this to work, because during that last 12 minutes, it's really just a little bit mistake. Just make file, I forgot to include one thing and I thought it was something else. And after I actually go out of the classroom and then just think more carefully, then I realized it is the make file. It was the issue. Okay, but thank you for all your contribution. Now you got to enjoy. I actually say this in class on Monday. I said, discussion, I said, because it's not recorded, we have students who didn't show up on Monday. So it's actually the responsibility, I use the word responsibility, of those who actually show up on Monday to actually help the student who cannot make it on Monday, okay? So can you just raise your hand if you were there on Monday? Okay, just hold it there. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, you know where is your friend. Okay, find your social relationship, and those are all the TA for that particular discussion. All right, thank you very much. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so that's homework 3, and let me actually just tell you a little bit planning for the next few homework. I hope we can get homework 3 done as soon as possible. So I believe that with this extension, because previous class, I never gave them the enhanced version. I thought maybe it's a good idea to show you the enhanced version like this. And then you can actually use that to quickly get homework 3 done. Because homework 3 otherwise has, it's not complicated, but it's new for a lot of you if you haven't done this type of programming. So let's get this done. tomorrow, office hour, 2 to 4:50. I will continue to work on this. The second thing is that I want to also let you get homework 4 done. I actually just last minute I decided not to announce because I want to make a change on homework assignment number 4. I want to make homework 4 smaller and simpler. You just focus on one thing: multiple inheritance and virtual inheritance. I'd like you to finish homework 4 in 1 week. There is no real good reason for you to do anything more than 1 or 2 days if you follow the lecture about those 2. It should be really simple. There's only 2 challenges that you need to deal with. Number 1, you should know what's the difference between just hold on for a moment, virtual inheritance and public inheritance. The second thing is just about pointer, that you need to learn how to use pointer. But for those of you unfamiliar with a pointer, we try to provide another lecture to talk about that, maybe a pre-recorded lecture. Yes, you have a question, sorry. Yes, let's try to see if we can get next Friday to work. If we still, okay, let me announce this way, it's recorded. What I'm saying here is that if by next Wednesday, I still have a horrible feeling about you guys struggling homework 3, I will extend it. But if I see that most of you are actually doing pretty well at that point, I would like to use the Thursday to push you through and to help you to get that done. Okay, is that fair? Is that okay? Yeah. I actually sent it through Canvas. Can anybody receive it? The announcement? Yeah, there one student receive it, so it's included as an attachment to Canvas. I mean, right now I don't trust my server anymore. The VPN just take a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's a tar GZ file. You just do tar ZXVF, that file name, you actually get your template. Okay. Yes, please. Yes, you can use, okay, in this class, not the other class, but in this class, reusing code is generally considered possible. Because in real world, you're going to be reusing other people's code a lot, all right? So that's basically, well, I should actually qualify what I'm saying. In real world, you are encouraged to use other people's code unless that piece of code is a company secret of the other company. Then you bring your company into lawsuit of billions of dollars potential. Yeah, I mean, I just saw. I mean, it's just amazing how company, when they're employee moving from one company to the other, their loyalty is equivalent to the code they bring to the new company, and then the new company didn't know. They just use it, and then somehow the lawyer will be able to find that out. And then after lawsuit, it's usually means settlement is in the order of billion. We're talking about usually for big companies. That happened just too many times. That's actually bad. But reusing a code that's open source, reusing a code that within the same organization, within the same class, I think is actually very, very, very useful, valuable. Okay. So then I'm actually going to push for homework 5. The thing is that I really want to, I kind of separate part of homework 4 to another part, which is homework 5. And homework 5 is related to your next topic I'm going to cover. It's called exceptional handling. And homework 5 is going to be a major one because it's actually going to be related to your final project, which is the hardware I try to purchase for your homework, for your final project should arrive this Thursday or this Friday. So I'm very excited to receive those equipment, then I can set it up and do something, and I can start announce the homework, the final project, which slide. Just let you know. But then after homework 5, with homework 6, 7, and 8, I will probably just tell you. But I try to make each homework smaller. I want you to have a fast pace. Just try to get it done Don't drag it for more than 2 weeks. There is no point. Most of the homework, if you know what you're doing, you should be able to get it done in 1 week. Okay, most of the homework, including the homework you had in the past. You can see some homework one that you will struggle. In fact, I feel the hardest one so far is homework one, the part 2 of homework 1, because it's actually for those of you who need to learn how to handle file. And the rest of homework, I will try to make it, in terms of programming, it's going to be short, but concept might be an issue for most of us, okay? All right. Any question? All right, I have 20 minutes and I'm going to talk about the virtual inheritance and multiple inheritance. So for homework 4, you will receive this 2 files. This is exactly I did. This is exactly I show you in the PowerPoint slide. Let me actually bring my PowerPoint slides anyway. No, this one, sorry, next lecture. So this was, if you remember, this was the slide I talked about on Monday, about the difference between multiple inheritance and virtual inheritance around this 4 different classes. As I mentioned, the memory layout really play a major difference. I mean, the other thing from programmer perspective is that whether you have 1 copy of account or 2 copy of account, and how do you actually access to each of the copies if you have a 2 copy? And the other things which you should be worried about is that how you're going to understand the memory address of each of this sector. So you will be able to handle that. So what I'm going to give you, let me just come back. Okay, perfect. So now you can see the code over here. That this is the copy for multiple inheritance. So multiple inheritance, you have just say public, when you inherit from somebody, it's just public account. And when the work study is essentially say public employee and the public student. So that's the multiple inheritance syntax. And the class itself, I make it extremely simple because the point is not really implement any meaningful class, but the point is for you to actually understand the variable, how many copies that they have. That's why I actually only have a 1 variable for each of the class. For the account is actually called A1. All of them are long integer. For the account is A1, for the employee is E1, for the student is S1, and for work study is W1. Okay, So this is essentially a .h file that implement those 4 classes in the syntax of multiple inheritance. And now we're going to look at the other part, which is a virtual inheritance. So they're pretty much the same, except this line. Let me actually bring you the contrast between these 2 lines. This is multiple inheritance, class employee public account. This is virtual inheritance. You say public virtual account. And then with that, you can actually declare this as a virtual inheritance. Other than that, these 2 pieces of code are exactly the same. I mean, just let me use my favorite program again. It's called diff. Over 4, 2. The only difference, oh, there are extra difference. I didn't realize. Oh, okay. There is another difference. I have a virtual destructor, but other than that, they are basically the same. It's just virtual or non-virtual. Okay. I think the first one was just probably a minor things I did during one of the lecture before. Okay, so those 2 files. So now I want to start to write a program. For the rest of the class, I have about 10 minutes. I'm going to, I mean, I love this idea about let's use 10 minutes to get something to work, okay, on the fly. It's always good to do that. So I'm going to write a small program, the test program. Let me actually see what I have. Yeah, I already have one. Okay, I'm going to use this one. CP test 1 to test multiple inheritance .cpp. Let me call it f2021. Okay, I'm actually going to see, I mean, the program is just include the multiple inheritance. I'm actually going to get rid of most of this. Let me just create one object. All right, I'll leave it at. Okay, fine. I'll just go this part. I'm just finished this one. The rest, I'm not going to do anything. Okay, so I'm actually just want to run this program and tell you what the program is doing. So this is multiple inheritance. Later, I'm going to change, for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to change to virtual inheritance. And I created an object called objWS. So I create that object, and then I actually make a pointer of that object to be PTR. Maybe I just change this name to objWS pointer. Okay, make it a little bit longer. And I think I'm going to get rid of the type define. It's just make things more complicated, unnecessary. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is that the next 2 lines, I'm going to set the W1, the account for the work study. I set the number to be 717. Okay. And the thing is, I want to ask you is that I want to set the value. Remember, multiple inheritance, how many copy of account we have? If you remember this slide, this is multiple inheritance. I have a 2 account, right? So now I actually want to access to say, I want to access to the student version of the account. What should I do? Let me actually try to just get that done so you know the power of multiple inheritance. So the first thing I will do is that I will casting it. I will casting it to the pointer. Let me actually try to do this. I might not need to casting that way. I would just do this way. And object, let me not make it complicated. Let's make it this. Object, WS. I have to casting it to, I think, student. Hopefully this will work. I will casting to student, and then I say W A1 is equal to 200. And the similar, I can actually casting to employee because I need to access the account variable. So say employee, I will say A1 is 300. So let me just put this 2 line and I'm going to get rid of the rest. Okay, so you can see I create an object and what I'm doing is just modify the program such that I want to access to different, because I have 2 different accounts. So now let's try to compile it. G++ minus S, what is this? Where's my makefile? See, I'm always rely on my makefile to tell me something. I just copy this one over here. This is a test. f2021.cpp. Okay, expression is not assignable. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to change that code. That's why I guess that's why I need to have objws ptr. Employee stuff star. Let's see if it's okay with this notation. Whatever notation works for me. Use of undeclared variable. Okay, I make a mistake. Typo is lowercase. Okay, it compiled. Okay, it's actually, I can run that, so I can just print out the value. Let me actually just say, I want to print the value. So what I did is I'm going to do std cout. And what I'm going to do is I print star obj. Let me just copy this. I print do I need this? Yeah, probably. No, I don't need this actually. I just realized. If I just print this one, A1, that's actually the student's version. And then if I do this, which is employee, that's this version. Okay. So let's recompile again. Miss 1 column here. Okay, dot slash a dot out. So now it's actually printing these 2 numbers corresponding. Okay, so what I need to do next is actually try to change one perspective of the program like this. If I change this, let's see the difference. Keep this line and change this to virtual inheritance. Let's hope that I can still compile. File not found. What was the name of the file? I thought it's virtual inheritance. This is the time I need Microsoft Word to help me, or Visual Studio Code. Okay, let's actually try to print it. Guess what will be the result? 300, 300. There's only one copy. The difference between virtual and multiple, again, is this. Not this one. Where's my slide? Not this one. Oh, it must be this one. Yeah. You see the difference between these two? The virtual inheritance, you only have one copy. So the second statement to assign, it was assigned as 200, and then it was overwritten by the second statement, written to be 300. So those two, so when you print it, there was only one value because it has been, they share one particular part. But with multiple inheritance, it has two copies. So doesn't matter, you change that 200 is still available. Okay, so that was the first one. I want to show you how many minutes do I have? I don't have any minutes. Okay, I just want to type it very quickly to tell you the memory address of those two copies. So give me 1 minute. I think I can do this in one minute. Let me actually get back this part, the multiple inheritance. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out the memory address of this. So what I'm actually going to do, very simple, I do ampersand of this. That was ampersand, that's the memory address. And then I do an ampersand of the memory address. And then I just, this is good enough actually. Oh, I forgot one, sorry, I forgot one parenthesis, I think. What did I do? Employee. Oh, wait a minute. I actually cannot see myself very carefully. Get rid of this one. Let me check. Just one. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. So now you can actually start to see this two number I print at the bottom, that's the memory address. This is 64-bit memory address of where I store this account, the first one, where I store the second account. And so homework 4, I want you to do is just, you will be able to access to the object, you will be able to know what is the memory address. So I show you some simple example how you can print the memory address of those variables. they're different location. Okay, I'm going to stop here and we'll move outside for discussion or whatever, office hour.